Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to episode 3. I'm actually not procrastinating. Let's not talk about a respectable time frame that I'm releasing these episodes in, but nonetheless, we're back. Welcome back to Peace, Tea, and Petty. I'm Destiny, and I have a lot of tea to talk about with y'all today. I also wanted to mention last episode I was fidgeting with one of my fidget things, and you can hear the cracking very prevalently last episode, and I wanted to apologize for that. I don't know, I recently dug through my things and I found a lot of my fidget toys, and I'm like, oh, I just love the clickety click. Like, I love clicky keyboards, buttons. I love the clicky sound. So yeah, I'm gonna try not to do that going forward, because I have a whole chest of random fidget things beside me that I'm gonna be very tempted to play with, but I won't. I don't know. They're just really, I don't know. It helps me focus. Anyway, so where do we start? Because I slightly procrastinated in making this episode. This is kind of old news now. It's not piping hot tea. However, I do feel I haven't seen enough people talk about this. So Coachella and Miss Sabrina Carpenter. She made the comment, "That's weird. I don't like it." In response to a fan that was doing a kind of chant from her culture. So that sparked a lot of discourse, naturally, because just because someone does something that you aren't culturally familiar with, or it's different, maybe don't make comments like, "That's weird, I don't like it." Now, unless there are things that are like, obviously crossing boundaries and maybe aren't ethical, then, but I'll ultimately maybe save your comments if you're not familiar with a lot of these things. So for context, a fan did a chant. So I found a video on Instagram by Dr. Mamobo, yes, Mabobo 69, and she actually did a very good job at explaining everything behind the scenes, because initially I wouldn't call what Sabrina Carpenter did necessarily racist. I would say racially ignorant might be a little bit more accurate, or more so maybe ethnically or culturally ignorant. If anything, it was kind of giving a Western-centric mindset, and that's how she proceeded to comment on that. So Dr. Mamobo explains that this, what Sabrina referred to as yodeling is actually a chant called Zagruta in like the Reno regions and Arab country. Like, it's a chant of endearment, of joy, of celebration. So really no different from like cheering or screaming or yelling at a concert, in my opinion. But maybe there's a lot more background to it in that culture. But I'm not a I'm not a professional on this culture. However, like, given the context, they're at a, Coachella. She's putting on a performance, and people cheer at concerts, at sports games. So really, in my opinion, there's no difference to that. But her making those comments to that lady, and I'm curious, because I'm, like, if that lady is, has brown skin or is white passing, because there is an element there that, and this is just me kind of, getting maybe petty about it, but if you see someone who is of color, like, obviously, and they're doing something different to you, maybe don't make a negative comment or like grossed out face. Like, her face was like, scrunched up in the way, like, I don't like, and she's trying to be like make fun of her and the chant she did in a way. Like, I'm not, like, that's not lost on me. Obviously, like, I don't know. It's, I think it was really ignorant to say, honestly, and like I said, I'm not full blown calling her racist because I might be giving a little grace, but technically that's not what race is. Like, it's not like that's the definition of it, but you can be racially insensitive and ignorant, or in this case, like, ethnically, culturally ignorant or insensitive. And like, not to say, I'm not hating on Sabrina Carpenter. I'm not trying to be like, oh my god, she needs to be canceled. You can, like, contrary to how, like, what people believe and seem to behave online, you can critique someone's behaviors and actions and words they're saying without actually being angry or hating them. You know, I think a lot of us need to do more of that, like, rather than just be a parasocial, oh my god, they can do no wrong, or how dare you call them out, it was a mistake, or no, this sound was, like, offensive to the ears. Like, someone did comment that, like, actually. I'm not kidding. I don't know why. Sometimes they go about it with the reasoning of, like, oh, we have bigger things in the world to worry about, so why are we focusing on this minuscule little thing? And to that, I would say, well, can you not focus on more than one issue at once? Honestly, I don't understand that top. It's like such a write-off kind of phrase. Like, we can talk about more than one issue. In fact, we should, because a lot of the times these smaller issues are part of the larger issues, or part of why the problem is as big as it is and at the scale that it is. It's crazy because you let these small things build up, and yeah, usually you'll find it starts somewhere, or they contribute to the overall bigger issues. Even if not, it's still good to call out things, whether or not they're small and we have bigger things to worry about. Like, you can still worry about multiple things. So I don't understand that write-off. And if you don't call these things out or acknowledge these mistakes or help them acknowledge these mistakes, these people will they'll be blind to it. They'll think that they're right. They think that they can keep doing and saying these things, and usually they'll get worse. So like I said, those small issues, they build up into bigger things. So we should call these out, because people will just become entitled. They'll never know that they're wrong. They'll think it's okay to behave like this or act like this or speak like that. Like, I don't know. It's crazy to me that we're gonna keep enabling, like, and it's fine to make a mistake, but how else will you learn until someone calls you out? Honestly. I mean, that being said, like I said, I don't hate Sabrina Carpenter, and I'm not trying to hate on her for this. I'm just calling her out, like, hey, that's pretty insensitive and rude, to say the least. But I mean, that's just like one thing of other things, to be honest. Like, then this is another thing I see people do, like, just because someone does good things or supports good things, somehow in their mind they're immune to making mistakes or being wrong, or being vile. Like, sure, there was that instance when the White House was, I don't know if they're still doing it, it hasn't come across my feed, but remember those really unhinged videos the White House has been posting in regards to, like, kind of pro-war propaganda, like, really racist immigration kind of propaganda, and they're using, like, songs without permissions, kind of like how Trump did in his what do you call that, when they go around and try to campaign, and resulting in a bunch of artists banning him from using their music. Same thing. I mean, of course, why wouldn't he stop doing that? So he used one of Sabrina Carpenter's songs, and she's like, absolutely the fuck not. Keep my music out your goddamn mouth, basically, which is great. I'm like, yes, thank you. We need people saying that, doing that. That's great of her to do that. But, yeah, that doesn't mean she's incapable of being ignorant or being wrong. So that's what I have to say on that. I'll link Dr. Mamobos' video. She went into, I think she said she was like a ethnics psychology study professional. I might be butchering that title, but I'll link her video. Y'all should watch it. She was really insightful in that and really delivered her insights into that action, because I don't think it shouldn't just be written off as, oh, she's racist, she's bad, she sucks. No, like, you made a mistake. This is how, this is the elements of that, and I hope she thinks and reflects and doesn't do it again. And that's the thing with apologies. Like, I know when you fuck up in the public eye, you're kind of obligated to make an apology, and of course nobody's going to take it because they know you have to make an apology, and you can tailor it as best you can, which a lot of people don't typically. They don't realize what an apology really is. They're just apologizing because they have to, or because they got caught, or not because they're actually sorry or they recognize the harm. And yeah, you should mention that, like, okay, I understand why this is harmful, and it really has to show in your behavior going forward, and you have to show that you're actually making effort, taking attempts to, not do that again. And of course, yeah, we have to see that she doesn't do that again. Let's hope. I don't know. But aside from that, I just, I'm not particularly a fan. Well, like, and now I'm like going into what, like I said, I don't hate her, and I'm not trying to create some sort of hate train. I'm not a fan of, like, the man's best friend concept, honestly. Some people are like, oh, she's taking back power, and I'm like, okay, I don't really see that, but it's kind of playing into the male gaze kind of thing and the problems with that. But, do what you do, you girl. But I hope regarding this how that came off. And yeah, okay, this next section I'm gonna offer a trigger warning. And like I said, since I procrastinated, it's been a little bit since this blew up. But yeah, we're going to be talking about the Rape Academy. So, to summarize, CNN did an investigation. They infiltrated. This is so James Bond. I love it. They infiltrated this group. So essentially, there's this site. Holy crap. And the discourse of all this is absolutely insane and very illuminating, honestly. So, to summarize, get back to that, there was a site called Motherless, I believe, or Mother. My goodness, it's been a while. That doesn't matter, though. But, so it was recorded in the month of February. This site received 62 million visits. Now, I don't believe that was unique visits, and I'm not arguing numbers, like, because later I'll get into why that's a crazy situation from this. So 62 million visits recorded in the month of February, and it went further into these Telegram groups. Why is it always Telegram, by the way? Like, do people actually use that app for non-nefarious reasons? Because I swear to God, every single time, like, to catch a child predator, like, they're always in Telegram. Like, I don't know what that app is, essentially, and what it's for, but it's always people doing nefarious shit, so, yeah. But anyway, so they found this group. I think it had like 1,000 men in it, and they were instructing each other how to drug their wives or women they're dating. They instructed them what dosage to give them so they don't accidentally overdose them, and then encouraged them to post the footage of them sexually assaulting those very clearly unconscious women on this website. So this website, I should mention, I guess it's technically a porn website, and it's known to have that category. Like, apparently there's a rape fetish, and that's very problematic too, because I've noticed a lot of people are viewing rape as a porn category. See, and this is what's crazy. This shit gets normalized. You go down this rabbit hole of degeneracy, and your mind gets so warped that you think rape is a porn category? You think having a rape fetish fantasy is normal, is okay? Like, in no space, even in like a fantasy space, there's no that this is indicative of the bigger problem. Like, this is crazy. This of course blew up. Like, that's wild. And a lot of the discourse, unfortunately, as people try to draw attention away from the real issue, they were number crunching. Like, that fucking matters, you know? Like, people were taking, oh my god, 62 million men, and men being like, not 62 million, it's 1,000, and actually 40% of the visitors were women, by the way, of that site. And, you know, all this, like, unnecessary, stupid numbers discourse, when in reality, the number shouldn't be 1. Like, I've obviously, when a big thing is brought up like that, and especially this era of feminism being on fire, a lot of men are afraid to really confront the truth of things, and they get defensive, and they feel attacked, they feel targeted, and unfortunately, even if you're not a perpetrator of that, you're still you're still contributing to the problem, unfortunately, by getting defensive. Or maybe you're getting defensive because you know that you aren't being helpful, which action does need to be taken. It's kind of reaching critical levels, like, and that's another thing I wanted to, like, this is just from that CNN investigation. This doesn't encompass all the other ones we don't know about. All the other ones that, you know, there's tons of police investigations, and they're finding all these things aside from, like, CP, like, material and stuff like that. This kind of shit, like, this is just one investigation. This isn't, like, it's just that, and oh my god, if that we're freaking out about 1,000 guys. This is crazy that there's people men instructing other men to commit this crime, to film it and post it is so sick beyond anything I ever thought was possible. And it's just bringing incels out of the woodwork, trying to cite how feminism is the problem, and how the numbers, like, bringing all these false statistics, which statistically you can look them up anywhere. Any women, statistically, like, they're stupidly high on women being victims of sexual assault, sexual harassment, and the perpetrators being men. And it's staggeringly high. Like, it's crazy. Like, not, of course, like, the argument of, oh, well, men can be victims too, or women can be perpetrators too. No one's saying that's not true. But look at these staggering numbers. Like, it's insane. It's kind of, like, illuminating how just because men, like, if you aren't a perpetrator, like, if you're not the one doing these abusive acts to women, you need to take action to stand up to the men that are sharing this in the locker rooms. You need to stand up to your buddies, your coworkers, or whatever. You can't just be silent. You can't laugh. You actively have to be a part of the solution, because this is insane, and it honestly affects you too, which is another thing that I'm, like, baffled that these men aren't seeing is you realize, so these vile abusers and predators are, they're treating women like this. They're doing this stuff to women. Women are becoming much more informed and aware of this kind of stuff and the red flags and the behaviors. So now, unfortunately, more women have their guard up against all men because statistically, it's very likely you'll end up as a victim in some way. So you should be mad at these men because now women have to be weary of you because of those men. Like, they're your problem too. So I don't understand how we're missing that mark and why it's your problem too. Just because you're not the aggressor, you can still be affected by this. And honestly, I made a post, I was thankful. I'm so thankful that there are men who are actively standing up and calling this stuff out, because we need everybody's voices on this. Women can't just be the only ones fighting this. So I'm really grateful and very happy to see the amount of men just taking a stance and taking no fucking grace to people who are trying to talk back to them in that, because it's refreshing to see, for one. It's not performative, and you're not a simp for standing up for women. I mean, honestly, if that's what they want to define as being a simp, then that's not a bad thing. See, I don't know what it is, this toxic masculinity, it's affecting men negatively too. So if you can just break free of that cycle and break that way of thinking and that mentality, we're all gonna be better for it. I promise you. But yeah, so that coming out just really illuminated for a lot of people how people in their men in their circles are acting, and I hope it turned on some light bulbs for some of them. I hope it, rather than getting defensive, I hope they realize, wow, actually, yeah, this defensive behavior isn't helpful, because I think there's hope for the ones who aren't committing these crimes. You do need to recognize this behavior, not placate it. You need to fight it. So another weird angle of thought, I don't know how to put it, came from, now I don't think I've ever heard of this guy until this, his weird posts on Threads, but Therapy Jeff, oh boy, did he say some choice words because of this findings of the Rape Academy, as they're calling it. So he initially, and this is what I saw first, he made a post basically saying how, kind of framing, oh no, men who have these urges, what are they supposed to do? These urges they can't control. Where are they supposed to go? Who are they supposed to call? Very problematic, especially for someone proclaiming themselves to be a therapist. I mean, first of all, shouldn't you know the answer to that question? But also, because he was saying there's no helpline, there's no resources. But the problematic thing is framing this urge to rape somebody, to force yourself onto someone with non-consensually. That's not something to be treated like some sort of treatable illness, it's not an innocent, that's a choice. That's not something we should be treating and looking at anything less than the vile act and choice that it is. So it left, people immediately jumped on it, because that's wild. Given his platform, he has 1 million followers on one of his platforms? I don't know. That was just crazy work, to say the least. But it didn't stop there. It also unearthed, he's been very, his comments were very sexually charged, just out of the woodwork. which I don't think you like. This is his professional account, and he's commenting like an like an incel or like a subscriber to someone's OnlyFans. You know, like is something that's not like on a public post. That's not stuff you comment on like anything, and a lot of the posts weren't even like sexual in nature. He just was like, that's what she said, or well, there was one that was she was stating a question about how men, I'm not gonna get too graphic here, but something about their basement snakes, and what being done to it, and he wrote a paragraph, y'all, a paragraph, detailed, very crude, very lewd, and is like, okay. And from what I got, they're not dating, they're not, but it was public. I don't know. That was, I get being like sex positive, but that was just downright creepy. And if you want to see what he wrote, I wrote an article on my Substack. I'll link it in wherever you're watching or listening to this. Well, it's on my Substack, Destiny Siren. I think I kept all the screenshots there, but they're all on Threads too. Threads keeps receipts, so they will forever be there. And I guess he has so he obviously, I guess he practices therapy, and if you went to his Google page, it was closed down because because of those comments, rightfully so, and then it also brought light to, like, it's interesting when someone of that caliber fucks up, then all the other skeletons come rushing out of the closet. So there was like countless like reviews and people like recounting their experiences or what they heard. Like someone who was like, I was his neighbor, or I was a friend of someone he was dating, or I was someone he was dating and he's abusive, and allegedly, of course, this is all, there's some wild allegations being made about him. But I mean, given his comments and behavior, it probably fits the bill, to be honest. So I'm likely to lean towards those are true, if not partially. So ultimately, he's very problematic, and crazy how this Rape Academy situation kind of brought that into the light. It's wild. Next on the list, and probably last, we're gonna cover a good old-fashioned racism, because we can't have enough conversations about it, apparently. And it's a lot more nuanced than people want to admit. Trust me, I'm exhausted. Like, everyone's probably annoyed at me at this point because how much I bring up racism and point out racism, but until I stop experiencing it and people of my skin tone or darker stop experiencing it, I think we should still keep talking about it. So, there was a esports host in China, and apparently she received some sort of backlash for her outfit. So, as a follow-up clapback in her mind, doing blackface was the response. And this is so exhausting. Like, she dressed in all black, but she painted her skin all black. And they're trying, of course, the page the article came on, well, I say article, it's literally one of those, like, designed to be clickbait, grabby posts where they just have, like, the bold, colorful text, and they had the image of her, of course, doing blackface, and the caption, a lot of the captions were like, oh, a lot were finding it clever, and one of the comments, because I was confused. I don't know what this was about. I've never heard of her or seen her until this. So they explained that apparently it was her dressing up as a censor bar. I'm assuming from her outfit, they were probably talking like she had really short shorts on or something. And God forbid women dress in anything because they won't hear the end of it. So originally, my heart goes out to her in that regard because, girl, we've all been there. Like, misogyny isn't cool. Sexualizing women all the fucking time is exhausting. But, retorting with blackface kind of, muddies your point. And not to use a very poorly worded pun, it really, like, you lose me there because it's, why are we fighting misogyny with racism and laughing about it? And then it's so, like, speaking of, like, Western centric or, ethnic centric, one of the comments, because of course I had to say something. It's important to say something, I think, like, and a lot of the times I recognize that people are just, people on the internet are gonna do what they do and say what they say. Someone was trying to be like, not everything is revolved around you guys and your, Western ideals, or not everything's about your race and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, to which I vehemently disagree and beg to differ, because I don't know why people want to live with, like, under a rock, because racism is very prevalent in the East, in China. People with darker skin tones, tanner skin tones, get treated like garbage. They get ostracized. There's even, like, the toxic European Western beauty standard, I guess you could say. It's to be white and petite. So a lot of times, some Asian people, they won't even go into the sun. They'll wear hats, cover their skin, because they don't want to get tanned. Because, surprise, surprise, being colored is being less, being viewed, being tainted. So, like, don't come at me and say racism doesn't exist over there, because it very much does. And it's usually coming from the privileged group who are white. And I use white in, like, quotation marks because, Asian, like, the concept of white isn't, like, Asian people aren't white, but, they're light-skinned or white passing, sometimes you could say, like, that goes deeper. But to say that racism isn't prevalent in many, if not all, like, isn't prevalent in certain areas of the world is so wildly ignorant. So I'm at a point, I'm not engaging just willful ignorance anymore. I'm just gonna say my piece, and it's a great example that people want to try to diminish what racism is, or the narrative. Like, they think it's so, like, obvious. They think it's so, like, you're painting your skin black, you're acting offensively like a monkey, or trying to act like ghetto or black. They think it's intentional. They think it's obvious, but it's not. You can still be racist. Like, blackface is so much more than people want to admit, than people are willing to acknowledge. Color your skin black. I don't care if you're doing it with the intent to mock a black person. You did blackface. And, like, she literally used black paint, and, like, she's not black. Like, you could have done so many different ways if you wanted to make your point, or just not dignify misogynists with a fucking response, honestly. Like, I mean, if you want to do something, I get it. I do like the clapbacks. I'm petty. If you go low, we're going to hell. But leave racism out of it, please. Is that so hard to ask? And when you have a bunch of black people telling you, hey, that's racist, maybe you should listen and not pretend like racism doesn't exist in your country, because it does, unfortunately. All right, and I guess I'll wrap this up quickly with another racist. This one maybe might be more focused on using rage bait tactics to promote your business or products. Isn't a good idea. So on what apparently is National Black Authors Day, this white man decided to write a book And like initially, a man writing about a coming of age story about young women is already kind of weird. He had to go and generate an AI cover. But that's not where it ended. He had the brilliant idea to make the characters anthropomorphic monkeys, but at the same time giving the main character, the monkey, a black hairstyle. Like, this seems so much like it would be parody, right? No. I mean, obviously, I don't believe for a second this guy was not being intentionally obtuse, because, of course, his post blew up naturally, everyone calling him out, and almost every single one of his comments was being like, I'm not racist. I'm an ICU nurse. I have PTSD. I have mental health issues. I can't be racist. You know, and you just, after a while, you're like, hey, this guy's obviously being obtuse on purpose. And, of course, his responses also were, like, weaved together with a, oh, I guess you'll have to check it out. Go read my book. Which no one's gonna do that. So, after not being able to handle the heat, he took down his post. He didn't make an apology post. He did not. It was just my apologies. You know, he didn't acknowledge anything. If you want to read it, it's on my Substack, Destiny Siren. I'll also link it below. But, you know, again, people called him out. That's not an apology. But then people did some more digging and investigating, and you can clearly tell it's likely that his book was AI generated. There are some tells in there. Now, I'm saying this allegedly. All his books are reeking of, well, AI generated covers, and people even looked up one of the titles, and it looks like he might have ripped off a book from someone else, you know? It's pretty linear at this point. If you're going to use AI to generate your title cover for your book, what's stopping them from going a step further and generating the rest of the book? It's pushing boundaries. It's a dangerous, slippery slope, and I think he fucked around and found out pretty hard, because, yeah, he had to take down his post, and people are not letting him off the hook. And congratulations, Paul. Now you're ostracized from the community. No one's gonna read your books. You've been outed as ignorant, as racist, as using your mental health and your status as a nurse as a shield. You think that's a get out of free jail card for being ignorant and racist? It's pretty pathetic and pretty sad. Anyway, I've talked for a long time, so I think we got some good tea from this episode. If not entertainment, I don't know. It's been a long month. It's been a really long month. Anyway, thanks y'all if you made it this far. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for subscribing or following my podcast. Please DM me topics you want me to talk about. I'm gonna try to. I mean, I'm chronically on the internet, so I'll always have stuff to talk about. Or if you want to be a guest or suggest guests, I'm open to that too. I had a great conversation with B last time, so yeah, I would love to chat with y'all. So yeah, thanks for joining me once again. I hope y'all have a wonderful morning, evening, night, whatever time it is. This has been your host, Destiny, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.